Hello and welcome to Mangatora 96, and today we're going to talk about Overlord. Today's topic will be the Evangelist who is spreading the religion of Bone Daddy Ainz across the land to open the people's eyes to the greatness that is Ainz. I'm of course talking about Neia. But before we start, here's the spoiler warning, as I'll be spoiling a lot of things in this video, so if you don't want to be spoiled, I would highly recommend that you go and read the light novel, as it is an enjoyable read. For all else, let's start with who Neia is. Neia Baraja is a citizen of the rebel Holy Kingdom. While starting out as a mere squire in the Holy Kingdom's liberation army, after meeting Ainz ul Gowan, she became vital in liberating her country. Afterwards, she became the leader of a cult that follows the Sorcerer King's ideals that strength is justice. Since interpersonal relationships aren't her strong suit, it has led Neia into developing a personality that favors doing everything by herself. According to her father, he saw her as a gentle, fragile girl who is not the type of person that thinks of finding power as everything. She is even reflective and self-aware of how others around her view her intimidating face, feeling thankful and appreciative for the Sorcerer King going out of his way to give the former mask to cover it up for everyone's sake. During and after the Holy Kingdom's war with the Demi-Humans alliance, her own belief and philosophy surrounding her home nation and countrymen began to change ever since she met and allied with the Sorcerer King. Having now understood what kind of person the Sorcerer King is positively, it encouragingly supported and motivated her to take actions for him and the Holy Kingdom confidently and fearlessly. When put into several positions of power militarily and politically, she became even more vocal, patriotic, and charismatic about her new ideology that centered around justice and sin. Due to her interaction with the Sorcerer King and getting to better know him as a person, she has become more pragmatic with her view of the world. She accepts the grim reality of making necessary sacrifices for the greater good and wants to reinforce the Sorcerer King's view based on it. She was honest and careful with her words, not the least bit afraid of withholding information from Ainz. As far as diplomacy goes, she acts under the role of being two factions' messenger and spokesperson to one another. In other words, she will convey her thoughts along with the Holy Kingdom Liberation Army's intention and Sorcerer Kingdom's opinions for either side to be informed of. At the same time, she becomes positively charismatic and engaging by the time she rises up in the ranks of leadership role among her followers. While leading both the archery unit and the Sorcerer King's rescue team, she has an eloquent way with words towards the people who support her ideology. She was relentless in trying to save Ainz and acquire his aid, urging her supporters to do the same as well besides her. She deeply valued and treasured the precious items Ainz had given her on her mission to save him and bring law and order back to the Holy Kingdom. Additionally, she has shown at times to be sternly scornful around people like Remidos, at the priest whom speak ill of the Sorcerer King. When listening to their conversation about the Sorcerer King silently, she frustratedly hated the thought of them badmouthing him behind his back. Moreover, she is considerately thoughtful, courteous, and attentive around Ainz, realizing the ways in how the Sorcerer King is trying to look out for both his nation and the Holy Kingdom's interest in mind fairly. She has also been shown to act envious and longing towards Jesus' relationship with Ainz, wishing to be as close to the Sorcerer King like the latter. Nonetheless, Neia is a dutiful person who follows her superiors' orders as they were given. As for her past, due to her fierce-looking eyes she inherited from her father, Neia tends to leave a bad first impression on others she meets. This is the reason why her childhood friend kept a distance from her. For that reason, she happens to be bad at building good interpersonal relationships with people and always complained to her father over the matter. When her mother overheard her saying that, Neia took quite a beating from her. Somewhere during her childhood, her father stated that she was always scared of caterpillars. At the age of 6, she carried a wooden doll as a special gift to her father. While growing up, she decided her goal in life was to become a paladin within the Holy Kingdom. She was rarely ever at home and instead took to training instead. She admired her mother as a paladin and was dead set on becoming one herself to follow in her footsteps. However, no matter how much effort and time she spends practicing, Neia saw herself not improving. Before her first encounter with the Sorcerer King, she felt that she possessed no innate talent whatsoever with anything, even less so with a sword, and found her range abilities to be an utter waste of time to work on improving until now. After taking on the position of a square, Neia realized she has become much more useful to her companions when conducting her missions and in orders that she loved by accordingly. Eventually, with courtesy of the people she talks to and listens to during meetings, it leads Neia to accept her previously hated eyes as a way to direct who she feels towards the Paladin Order whenever they speak badly about the Sorcerer King. According to the author Maruyama, Neia was the kind of girl whose mental state is quite unstable. Even in her normal state of mind, she still looks off-putting to some people due to the way she glares at them all the time. This crazy aspect of Neia was the reason behind why superiors don't think highly well of her. As for her abilities, she is adept at using a bow and could accurately shoot her foes with arrows. Her bow skills are said to be very suited to the bandit's lifestyle. She was also acknowledged by her father in regards to being arranged like him. According to Gustav, she is the only one among the Holy Kingdom soldiers who can notice things with a clear perceptive due to her keen senses. While Neia was a long way from her father, she harbored some pride in the fact that her senses were sharper than those who had only been trained as paladins. She lost almost all of her regional levels or classes after being resurrected by Ainz. At the same time, she gained new classes level from surviving the Holy Kingdom's war with the Demi-Humans Alliance. Unbeknownst to Neia, she is able to use a special technique which can allow her to influence the thoughts of people or otherwise brainwash them. When she uses this power on traumatized people, her words are said to save from utter despair. This enhances her communication skills as a public speaker in front of the masses. Unlike normal paladins in the Holy Kingdom Liberation Army, she can blast her physical bow and arrows with divine power magically instead of with a sword. While her fellow paladins have their divine magic imbued through their melee weapons, she on the other hand does her enchantments on ranged weapons where the latter is capable of doing. This power of holy blasting she could do to her own weapon and attack by a special attribute originated from the Sacred Archer class which Neia has acquired during the war. She also possesses the job class Evangelist, which apparently seems to be a commander type job class when it involves converting others to follow a certain belief through means of preaching to the public and get people to join their cause. For instance, Neia's ideology as an evangelist was the Sorcerer King is justice and weakness is a sin. As for her relationship with Ainz, upon meeting Ainz for the first time, Neia wasn't afraid of him being undead and instead was awed by his appearance and aura. She sensed that the Sorcerer King is not simply a mere undead like the rest of this kind and could be an actual supreme being. In addition, she also finds his logic and the decision he carries out to be reasonable. Every time he openly speaks his mind, it will leave an indelible impression on Neia's heart. She had not only forgotten that Ainz was undead, but later came to harbor feelings of genuine respect for him as the Sorcerer King. She seems willing to defend him if the need arises, even against people from her own country. She was even ready to accept help from the Sorcerer King in terms of knowledge for military plannings besides having him fight in combat against Jaldabod and his forces. She appreciately holds deep trust towards Ainz's judgment, taking everything he says at face value. As the two traveled to the residents' camp, Ainz and Neia conversed with each other in his carriage where she was amazed at the undead's character, describing him to be a king who is as kind as he is wise. When answering Ainz's question concerning her parents, she told him about their fate, which made the Sorcerer King apologetic to her circumstances. Seeing his reaction, she even kneeled before him in the carriage and faithfully swore her loyalty and life to protect him when the conflict in her country is settled. At times, however, she ponders the thought of Ainz being a human magic caster in a skeletal mask due to the way he acts. After she is revived by Ainz, Neia comes to realize that his way of using his strength for those under his rule makes him the embodiment of justice. The ways of how Neia happens to view justice and sin radically different from Remidos, and those like the latter all stem from what she sees in Ainz himself. As to her relationship with Delta is only known to Neia as one of Jaldabot's demon mates who was bound by Ainz Ulgon. For that reason, she was initially wary of her presence and unable to trust her. Additionally, Neia is envious of Shizu's nonchalant attitude of calling Ainz the way he is without referring to him by any honorific title. After spending some time conversing with the maid, she soon opened up to Delta and asked for her cooperation on the job. Hence, Neia is able to get along very well with the maid as they share the same loyalty and respect for their master. A month later, as she gathered some volunteers to search for Ainz, Neia became friendly with Delta to the point where she hugs her in private and finds comfort in the former demon maid's words and presence. As for her relationship with Albedo, after the war between the Rebel Holy Kingdom and the Demi-Human Alliance was over, Neia admits her own jealousy towards Albedo, realizing she was the reason for why the Sorcerer King has decided to depart from her nation earlier and not celebrate the victory against the Demi-Humans. Not only that, but due to the fact she was also viewed by the Sorcerer King as one of his most important associates in the Sorcerer Kingdom. Particularly, Albedo being allowed to speak to him in a familiar manner. Because she was so close to him was something that Neia has desperately sought on doing with the Sorcerer King, yet could not ask for, which made herself very envious. With this, I covered everything that I wanted to cover on Neia. And that'll be all for this video. If you like this video, leave a like, leave your thoughts in the comments below, or subscribe to the channel for more manga reviews and One Piece content. And until next time, take care.